Where's the Fairy? Illustrated by Nick Harris and produced by Cat's Pyjamas Books. Molly's grandma was very different from other grandmas. She was always telling wild tales about magical creatures. Whenever Molly visited, Grandma whisked her off on an amazing adventure. "I've heard word that some fairies are hiding in a mysterious forest," Grandma announced as she prepared her motorcycle. "Fairies?" asked Molly. "That's right," Grandma replied, putting Pebbles, her dog, in the sidecar. "Real fairies, and we're going to find them." Grandma drove eagerly, and Molly held on tight as they zoomed along. Finally, they approached a beautiful, enchanted forest. "Keep your eyes peeled, dear. This forest is full of fairies," Grandma shouted over the roar of the engine, and Molly shivered with excitement. Grandma hopped off the motorcycle and led the way. Molly was always ready to share Grandma's high hopes, and she had secretly dreamed of meeting a fairy. They searched high and low for fairies, and they even peeked under toadstools, but they weren't having any luck. "Have you found anything, Grandma?" called Molly. "Not yet," Grandma replied, "but I know there are fairies in this forest somewhere. I can feel it in my bones." Pebbles could feel it in his bones too. He was the only one finding fairies, but Grandma and Molly were too busy to notice his little barks. Soon they came to a sparkling stream burbling through the woods. The stream had left little splashes on some stepping stones, and Grandma was convinced they were a trail of tiny wet footprints. "Look! Fairies have come this way!" she cried with delight. Grandma wasn't giving up, and neither was Molly. There was a clearing ahead, with a rainbow arching down, and it was the perfect place for fairies. Molly had heard of rainbows leading to a pot of gold, but maybe in an enchanted forest, rainbows led to a beautiful fairy village instead. Suddenly, Grandma spotted a trail of fairy dust on the ground. At least Grandma claimed it was fairy dust. Molly thought it looked like sand, but she kept that thought to herself. They followed the trail to the entrance of a small cave. "Hear that fluttering inside?" Grandma asked, putting a hand to her ear. "It sounds like fairies are having a dance party." The cave was very dark, but Grandma was prepared with a special flashlight. She searched every nook and cranny of the cave, but all she and Molly could find were bats. "Oh, and I thought they were dancing fairies! How silly!" Grandma laughed at herself. Stepping out of the cave, they saw that night had started to fall on the enchanted forest. Molly said they should hurry home, but Grandma was more excited than ever. "When the moon and stars come out, that's the very best time for fairies," she exclaimed. Grandma leapt down a mossy bank full of rabbit holes. "Any fairies in there?" she asked. There was no response. She moved from one rabbit hole to the next, but Grandma received no answer. Molly was starting to wonder if there were any fairies in this forest at all. They hadn't seen a single one. "I'm hungry," Molly said, hoping it would make Grandma end her search and start the journey home. But instead, Grandma just gathered some wood and in no time at all was cooking sausages over a blazing fire. "I've always loved a midnight snack," she beamed. Grandma insisted on taking a walk after their tasty meal, and when they came across a beautiful shaded pool shimmering in the moonlight, Molly was very glad she had agreed. Pebbles wasn't quite so sure. "If we don't find any fairies here, I'll jump in the lake," Grandma whispered with glee. When dawn started to break, Grandma finally decided that they should begin their journey home. "They were probably right under our noses all the time," she chuckled. "Fairies are very sneaky, you know. We'll find them next time." The end. Whilst reading that story, we hope you enjoyed it. Did you find any fairies in the story? If you have, you should count them and let us know how many fairies you found. Have fun, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.